most proud of?
I don't know. If there is one particular moment, the moment would be when I called up my parents and I told them, like, Reddit, there was a lot of turmoil, which you'll get to read about in the book because it kind of makes me cry sometimes. There was a lot of stuff going on during the founding of Reddit, and so being able to call up my mom and dad and say, like, hey, you know what, your belief in me for the last 22 years, like especially the last 18 months or 16 months has paid off. It was not in vain. It was absolutely the best moment. And the curse of it is I will probably never ever feel that good again in my life. So yeah, so it goes.
Yeah, and that actually is a
sorry to be a
lead
downer.
A good lead into the second question, which is that, you know, I think you found success. That, you know, you may have been young enough where the world hadn't quite gotten to you yet to make you scared. And so once you had that success, did you start having kind of like a fear of the sophomore album, like being scared of what you were going to do second? Yeah,
absolutely. And absolutely. In fact, that was there, you know, so I joined, so Steve and Adam founded Hitmonk. Steve was my Reddit co-founder. I joined Hitmonk maybe a week before launch. So I'm not technically a co-founder, but you know, moved into their apartment a week before launch, and Steve said it best. Like the day we were launching Hitmonk, he just kept saying, "I feel like I'm gonna puke." Like, and it wasn't metaphorical. Like he really was looking for a trash can because he felt like he was gonna vomit. And that was the downside to, yes, you know, being fortunate enough to have had the success that we had. It was terrifying. And yeah, I mean, again, that is the gift to not having that is the gift of low expectations. And I think I will perpetually feel like, especially given how much, you know, it's funny how much Reddit has grown in the 3.5 years since I left full time. Like it's almost, I don't know if it's correlation or causation, but it's grown tremendously, like 10x since leaving. And it's great, and I hope it continues to succeed. And you know, to some extent, I'll probably always be in the shadow of that. But I am, you know, as long as I got my cat, I'll be pretty content. I'm teaching her how to sit. That's going to be a big deal. Yeah.
So you've had a lot of success.
Yeah.
Have you had anything that you would put in the category of massive failure?
Oh God, yes. Okay, well, you know, the one that, and this is where those people in our lives can be so helpful. Steve and I were working on a startup called My Mobile Menu, or for a year while we were at UVA, and we had incorporated a company called Red Brick Solutions LLC because we thought like software companies needed solutions in the name, and Charlottesville is full of red bricks. And we wanted people to be able to order food from their cell phone without waiting in line. So you could just go 5 blocks away from a Starbucks, just plug in your Frappuccino, and it's there waiting for you, right? It kind of makes sense. Not in 2005, because there were no smartphones and the restaurants were still really skeptical of technology. And we didn't know that yet though, because in the meantime we were applying to Y Combinator, and I said we had that really fortuitous trip up there. And what I didn't say was that after a year of being convinced this was going to be great, after meeting with Paul Graham after his talk and him saying, "You guys have a pretty good shot, this sounds like a good idea," we went to apply to YC and they rejected us. And then we got drunk. We got really drunk. And it sucked because as a kid who, like many of our generation, was given a trophy for every effing thing I did. I mean, I have like 7 basketball camp participation trophies. I sucked at basketball. Like, it was really hard. And like I said, we got really drunk. And I confess this in the book because it was easier to type than to ever tell someone. I lied to a couple of Harvard guys we met there. This was in Cambridge, who were telling us about the investment banks they were going to work for, and I was telling them, I was like, we just got into Y Combinator. I mean, I was drunk, but, and I told them, I was like, we just got into this thing called Y Combinator. It was so stupid. Anyway, I was lying. And then the next morning, they call us back and say, listen, we don't like your idea, but we like you guys, so just come back, change your idea, for the love of God, don't do and make something else. And that was Reddit. So I mean, like, this was the start of my, like, hey, you're gonna go do a startup, put on your big boy pants. And it was just a flat out, no, you guys are dumb. This is a bad idea. And I mean, it is good fortune that YC changed their mind. It was actually all thanks to Jessica Livingston, fun fact. And then we failed about 3 weeks into Y Combinator because we hadn't launched yet. And Paul sent us an email saying either you guys are incompetent or you're waiting for it to be perfect. And either way, you're hosed. And that's almost a quote. Like, when you get someone telling you that who you respect, it actually forces you to launch the damn thing because you're either ashamed or, I guess, terrified. So yeah, I mean, there's like, I one day, and maybe this is something we should put together. Like, I would love to put together the great book of epic fails, and find a bunch of people who we just perceive of as being generally successful, and then actually just talk about all this stupid shit and all the mistakes and all this. Because you're seeing 8 years of failure here in front of you. Like, you don't get to see all that stuff. Thankfully, it's really embarrassing. There's just awful. You don't even want to know. I'm not even going to tell you guys. I'll wait for the book.
So you've had a lot of people give you good advice,
Yeah.
kind of speak truth to you maybe when you didn't want to hear it along the way.
Yeah.
And now you have a lot of people that are probably pitching you their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the biggest sort of piece of advice or words of wisdom that you tend to impart to people who are pitching you something?
I crib it from everyone else. I mean, it all eventually comes back to, your idea sucks, no one cares about your idea, make a thing. Like, everyone has brilliant ideas. Have you ever heard anyone say, like, I have this terrible idea, you gotta hear it? Like, no, we all think we have great ideas, and that's great, we should. That's part of having a good self-esteem, but like, no one wants to hear a pitch for an idea. We want to see a thing. Let's see the draft of that Kickstarter campaign you're actually about to put up. Let's see a prototype of the app you're going to make. So make a thing. And then when you do show it to someone whose advice you really trust or someone you respect, ignore like 95% of the advice they give you because they really don't know best. Like, I would kill for 30 minutes with Bill Gates, but like, Bill doesn't understand, a brilliant, very successful person, doesn't understand the same stuff that I might about my particular field. I don't understand whatever it is y'all have been thinking about near as much because you've been thinking about it for the last however many years. So like, assume that no one is really an expert, because none of us are, we're still figuring shit out. And then just deal with the fact that like part of your job as a founder or a creator or whatever is to sift through all the advice people are going to give you because everyone thinks they know best, and accept that most of it's probably wrong. Sorry, but everything at Reboot is right. Everything.
Jim, do we want to take questions from the audience, or do we have time for one question?
Make it count. Biggest failure that I've had or I've heard of that has led to the biggest success. Man, I mean, okay, I still feel really good about, getting rejected by Y Combinator and then ended up getting an idea that was far superior than ever would have been. I mean, I'll tell you one, this is almost low-hanging, this is almost not fair. The most successful Y Combinator company ever thus far is Dropbox. So Dropbox, Drew Houston, and now he's giving a commencement speech at MIT. This guy's brilliant, extremely successful. He was the dude who would just like hang out at Y Combinator because he was working on a dead-end SAT prep piece of software with some founder who was not that invested. And he would just show up and we'd invite him to these public events and everyone loved him because he was an awesome dude, really smart, but he just had a co-founder who just didn't care. The co-founder was really content with whatever his full-time job was, and for him it was just a side hustle. And Drew wanted to make this his life. And they were working on SAT prep software, which is not ideal, but at some point he got stuck waiting for a bus at South Station, pulled out his laptop, and wanted to work on, like any good founder, his SAT prep software. But he forgot his thumb drive. And he thought, well, this is a dumb reality. Like, why do I still need a thumb drive? Like, why can't I just effortlessly sync all my files? And literally, on that bus, on some Chinatown bus from South Station to, I don't know, probably New York, he started Dropbox. And like, talk about, I mean, it's tough because in hindsight, we all look at that story, it's sort of part of Y Combinator lore now, and it all kind of makes sense because of course, Drew is this very smart, talented person, of course, but like at the time, this was a dude who was pissed off, who was stuck at South Station after missing a bus and couldn't work on the thing he actually thought he was dedicating his life to. And so, look at that, he just gets started on something, and it's like, it is great how it seems so storybook, but I can assure you at the time when you're going through it, it feels anything but. And when you guys get to write all your books about all the awesome stuff you're doing, it's probably gonna look the same way. So just remember this, it's gonna look messy at the time, but no, failure is an absolute part of life, especially on the internet. And dude, I wish shameless plug, I'm going on this 75-stop college tour because there is no, I know, right? It's a little crazy. Because I wish I had had someone telling me that while I was in college, because I wasted 2.5 years obsessing over a GPA for an LSAT, or obsessing over GPA for a law school that I never applied to. And all of our education is built towards passing, avoiding failure, and then life all of a sudden shows up, and yeah, you know what? That's a part of it. And so, you know, like I said, we're all in a really good position because we're here at Reboot. But please, you probably have friends. Give them a kick in the butt. I mean, bring them to the next Reboot. Don't literally kick your friends. Hey, whatever. You do what you want with your friends as long as it's consensual. But really, like, come on, man. There's so much great stuff. And join New York Tech Meetup too. Because you want to be surrounded by like-minded individuals who also know how to protest when people try to mess with the internet. Look no further.
We do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.